The G-Men are set up for a nice 2021, so how far can they go? Answering that question and more right after the intro.
Perfect.
Before we get too far into things, subscribe to support the channel and of course get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. And with that out of the way, it's on to the content. The New York Giants had an absolutely underrated 2021 off season. With a number of big free agent additions, the New York Giants have put themselves in a winning position moving forward, especially on the offensive side of things around their young quarterback in Daniel Jones. Getting free agency additions like Kenny Golladay, formerly of the Detroit Lions, Kyle Rudolph, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, cornerback Adoree Jackson, formerly of the Tennessee Titans, and then in the draft getting Azeez Ojulari, a steal in the second round, and in the first round, wide receiver Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Golladay is probably the biggest splash for the Giants this past offseason with 183 catches, 3,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and even a Pro Bowl nod in his time at Detroit, giving Daniel Jones a true number one outside wide receiver to throw to. But they didn't stop there in the draft, getting Kadarius Toney out of Florida, who is another outside burner that's going to help stretch the field opposite of guys like Golladay. The receiving core for the New York Giants, a huge priority for this offense under Joe Judge, and they did their absolute best to improve it around, again, their young quarterback. On top of that, adding Kyle Rudolph into the equation gives a nice veteran option opposite of tight end Evan Ingram as well along the offense, and defensively getting better at pass rush, adding Azeez Ojulari, who was a first-round talent that the Giants just stole in the second round, who's going to pair up very nicely with Leonard Williams. At the worst, Ojulari is a situational pass rusher who's going to have a huge impact running after and getting down quarterbacks, and Adoree Jackson in the secondary is going to be nice as a rotational piece opposite of cornerback James Bradberry. Oh, and how could you forget the return of running back Saquon Barkley into the starting lineups this season is going to prove huge for the New York Giants. Hopefully, the offensive line can hold up and we can see the full potential of this offense at work around Daniel Jones, Kenny Golladay, Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, a lot of really good offensive weapons the Giants are trying to maximize. And on the defensive side of things, you still got, again, Leonard Williams, Logan Ryan, and of course, James Bradberry. Those big three on the defensive side of the football, and the linebacker core none too shabby as well with Blake Martinez. So with all those additions and the division around them, how far can the New York Giants go this upcoming season? CBS Sports has the Giants' strength of schedule at a .474, the 25th easiest schedule in the NFL this 2021 regular season. So can the Giants put together all of those pieces that I've mentioned and improve on a 6-10 record that they saw in 2020 and possibly break into the playoffs and maybe even win the NFC East? Well, let's do some predictions. And before we get too far into this, it's still June, so it's way too early like the title of the video has indicated. So this is just some very far off predictions. Who knows how this is gonna look by the end of this year, but you know, we're just having fun making the content. So weeks 1 through 5 see the Giants starting off against the Denver Broncos, the Washington Football Team, Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, and the Dallas Cowboys. I can see the Giants nabbing some easy wins against the Falcons and the Denver Broncos, and maybe even a tough win between the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints along the way. Starting off the season at a 3-2 clip is none too shabby for Joe Judge and the squad. Weeks 6 through 10 see the G-Men taking on the Los Angeles Rams, the Carolina Panthers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Las Vegas Raiders. And a Week 10 bye sees the New York Giants taking on a couple of tough teams here. With a bumpy stretch against the Rams and the Chiefs, I would not be shocked if the Giants were still going to be able to pull out a 2-2 clip with wins over the Panthers and the Raiders going into that bye, bringing the record to a 5-4 clip at this point in the season. So look, 5-4 may not be super impressive. It may not give the Giants and their fans a super high amount of hope, but 5-4 is still above 500. And coming out of that bye into weeks 11 through 15, they start off a little bit rough with the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Philadelphia Eagles up next after that, Miami, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Dallas Cowboys to round things out out at week 15. So look, coming out of that bye is a tough game like I mentioned. The Buccaneers are going to be a Super Bowl caliber squad this year, but the rest of that stretch is very winnable for the New York Giants. Not going to get too over optimistic here. I think a 3-2 stretch is pretty reasonable between weeks 11 through 15. This is going to bring their record all the way up to an 8-6 clip. And going into weeks 16 through 18, the New York Giants are going to be fighting for playoff positioning, maybe a wild card spot, and maybe even winning the NFC East altogether. Week 16 through 18, they got the Philadelphia Eagles, the Chicago Bears, and the Washington football team. This is an easy 2-1 stretch at the very least here. Philadelphia, unfortunately, I don't see them doing a whole lot this year. They had a really tough cap situation to try to work through this offseason, especially with the Carson Wentz deal. Just kind of hindered their cap situation. So I think the Giants can get an easy win over the Philadelphia Eagles. It's that last couple of games, the Chicago Bears and the Washington football team. I think they could probably split between one of those two. The Washington football team are going to be one of those teams between themselves, the Giants, and even the Cowboys probably competing for the NFC East if things go their way. Obviously, health going to be a huge factor this point in the season. The Chicago Bears still an absolute mystery as to what they're going to be able to do, whether or not Justin Fields is panning out, Andy Dalton, if he's still the starter, what's that situation going to look like? And again, health is going to be a huge factor late into the NFL season, but 2-1, if health is on the Giants' side, seems pretty reasonable to me. And even a potential playoff spot, possibly winning the division by week 18 of this season and getting into the playoffs. But I don't know how much further they go into the playoffs. The Giants are a good young team, but they are still developing under head coach Joe Judge. I don't know if they're much more than a wild card appearance team. There's a lot of hope for this Giants team heading into the season, and if my predictions are correct, they're going to finish off their season at a 10-7 clip, an improvement over 6-10 last year. So the New York Giants with an improved season, a playoff appearance potentially, if again, health is on their side. I think this is a vast improvement over last year. I don't think the Giants are Super Bowl contenders just yet, but things are trending in the right direction for the G-Men. I think this is going to be a season that they have some hope here. I don't think the expectation should be way too high and through the roof, but if the Giants can win the division and even just make the playoffs in a very tough NFC, this is going to be a win in Giants books. And a huge factor in this is, again, the strength of schedule. If the Giants can stay healthy and maybe get a few lucky breaks along the way, the NFL is absolutely unpredictable. I think 10-7, again, is just very achievable for this team. I think it's around their ceiling, a 10-7 team. At the very worst, they're going to have another 6-win season under Joe Judge, but I think this team is improving. I think this team is getting better, and the Giants are going to have something to look forward to for at least the next few years if things keep trending in the right direction. But that's all I got for you this week. Again, not super long, kind of a lull in the off season, but we're doing way too early predictions anyway because, well, it's kind of fun to rile up a little bit of the fan bases. And honestly, I just enjoy you guys sticking around and watching all of these videos. So thank you so much for the support. Of course, like, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, get the bell on to know every single time I'm dropping a video. Feel free to check me out at my social medias down in the description below. My name is Tristan Blake Rines, and I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Adios.